When the Ravens first signed Marcus Williams last year during the offseason, of course, we were all excited. I was one of the people who did a film study video and I was impressed by so many things that he did. Uh, Generally billed as a top of the line, middle of the field free safety with consistent production every year. I think that Marcus Williams proved to be far more than that in only 10 games played for the Ravens in 2022. I'm going to go over 4 or 5 bullet points and then get some film going here. You're going to see 10 plays today. Tough as nails. I think that was illustrated throughout the season, but definitely in week 5 when he played, I think, 2 series with a broken wrist and then didn't play in the third and fourth quarter, if I remember correct. Extremely smart. I've seen him take away routes that caused the quarterback to take a sack multiple times. Again, in only 10 games played, and I'm not going to show all of those plays here, but I'm listing bullet points, things that I noticed on top of what he was billed as when the Ravens signed him, I think, to a 3-year deal. He's as good as advertised, play a middle of the field free safety, whether it was in cover 3 or man free. He understands quarterback progression, and he understands the amount of time that a quarterback has to get the ball to certain routes. And there's times where I think you'll see him recognize, okay, he being the quarterback is not going to have time to get the ball to the secondary route. Therefore, I'm not going to worry about covering it. I'm just going to take away this primary route. I don't know how that's taught. At the NFL level, we never attempted to teach stuff like that to high school guys. Maybe it's because of our lack of ability as teachers. But in any case, I suspect that's one of the things he does often, and that may be related to how many players are rushing for the Ravens, what particular pass rushers are on the field at that time. It reminds me of like some of the things that Ed Reed used to do in terms of, I know there's only a certain amount of time for the quarterback to throw this ball, so I'm not going to worry about that route over there. I'm going to focus on this one. Some people would call that guessing. I don't think it's guessing. I think it's probably a better phrase than even educated guessing. But be that as it may, I thought I didn't know that he would bring so much balance to this defense. I didn't realize how versatile he was, and I intend to show that through the course of these 10 plays. He did play some curl flat and cover 3, basically like strong safety. Played tight ends man on occasion. Not that often, to be honest with you. He dropped down to play the curl on the hash. I will show you one rep of that, and then a very good tackler. Way better than people give him credit for, in my opinion. There's so much talk about the missed tackle, I think, against Stephon Diggs in the playoffs. He's as physically gifted and versatile as Marcus Williams is. I think he's equally smart. We're going to get the film rolling here and let you guys have a look at some of this, and hopefully I can convince you of how versatile he is and how I really feel like he's a foundational piece of this Ravens defense that doesn't get talked about a lot, I guess because he only played 10 games last year. But 10 plays to show his versatility and the tremendous efficiency that he displays in each technique. So this is an interception against the Steelers. Let you see it one time through. Look, these first 2 plays are going to show what everybody talks about. They're going to show him at middle of the field free safety and then making interceptions because unfortunately that's what some people judge as the end all be all of how good you are as a DB, a corner, a free safety, whatever, when in actuality if you take away the threat of the route at all, that could minimize your chances at interceptions. Not sure how much that applies to Marcus Williams. Certainly doesn't on this play from week 14 against the Steelers. It's man free. I think Williams is playing, he's getting himself between the hashes, which is his landmark at some point. I don't pretend to know, the Ravens' landmark rules for the snap, pre-snap, on the snap, after the snap, but he's in between the hashes at one point. He sees the quarterback looking downfield at Deontay Johnson. Look, I think Marlon Humphrey gets away with some contact that maybe it's light enough, and that's why it was not called. But Williams' ball skills are second to none. I mean, he catches whatever he gets the opportunity to catch. I think he had 1 interception, 2 against the Dolphins, which I'll show you one of them here in a moment. But one of the interceptions he had against the Dolphins, I think he caught the ball twice. That would be the only complaints. You always say, don't catch it twice, catch it once. From the time the ball is thrown here, about right now, a little bit after, right now, this is easy. This is just a drill for Marcus Williams. This is literally an example of a professional athlete making something look incredibly easy that's not. People talk about ball tracking, and in some cases people talk about ball tracking a little bit too much, but Marcus Williams is elite at it. He makes this one look easy as well. Week 2, against the Dolphins, playing half field safety now at the top of the screen. Tua oftentimes relies on looking safeties off. I noticed that a little bit in a film study I did a couple of weeks ago or a week and a half ago on their Jokers formation. And in this case, I think he looks off intentionally, and he believes that Jalen Waddle is going to beat Marlon Humphrey deep. He does have him beat, but it's because it's quarter half, or some people call it cover six. If you want to sound more modern, I'll pause it here in a moment and explain what I mean. So Waddle certainly is behind Humphrey, but that's because this is the two side. This is the half side with your corner in the flats, and then your free safety or strong safety playing the deep halves. So Marcus Williams is responsible for the halves. If you ask me, you've got a quarter player here in Hamilton and a quarter player here. And then this is your flat defender to the quarter side. You got two hook to curl players here and a flat defender to the top side. That's my quick explanation of quarter half. Some people call it cover six because 4 + 2 is 6. But in any case, Tua thinks that Waddle's got him beat. Well, that's the coverage. Marcus Williams is playing over the top of it. You know, again, this is an example of something that is simple and easy for him. He's an eraser. He's so skilled at seeing the route and simultaneously seeing the eyes of the quarterback. This is just pitch and catch for him. By the way, watch Kyle Hamilton. I'm not sure where the ball is. I wanted to look for the shadow of the ball, but look at Kyle Hamilton. The ball is still in the air. He knows the ball's going to be intercepted. He's raising his hands already, and the ball isn't even in Marcus Williams' arms at all. He realized that it was going to be an interception. That's how much confidence a guy like Kyle Hamilton has in Marcus Williams. Again, these are drills that you would run in terms of the route being run and then where you're catching the ball on the side of the field. Both of these interceptions somewhat similar. He's moving toward the sideline. The angle is different, because he's playing middle of the field free safety against the Steelers. But in any case, catching the ball near the sideline, trying to get both feet in bounds. Williams just makes it look easy. Easier than it really is to do. Ravens were a little bit exotic early in the season. This is an example of a more basic coverage, if you ask me. I thought they got a little bit less exotic as the season went on, but Marcus Williams, to me, fits in both of those paradigms. The more exotic you want to get, the more multiple you want to get. Marcus Williams can do all those things. You want to be simple and basic and just line up and play football, I think he can do that too. Really doesn't matter what technique he's playing. He appears to be very efficient at. Generally lines up at right safety on the same side as Marlon Humphrey. Okay, here in the playoff game against the Bengals, middle of the field free safety in a cover 3. In my opinion, Marcus Williams was a huge part of the Ravens' success against Joe Burrow in 2022 and the Ravens' defense's ability to be multiple and get after the quarterback with 4 rushers. You as the defensive coordinator and the defensive players for the Ravens could give the illusion of certain coverages and then morph into a separate coverage, still rush 4, in some cases rushing the guys who should rush, in some cases rushing Patrick Queen on a, quote, blitz, and then dropping Tyus Bowser into the pass drop that Roquan Smith would have taken, essentially like a domino effect, if you will. Queen is going to blitz. Roquan Smith is going to take over his pass drop. Kind of drew that arrow back intentionally. And then Tyus Bowser is going to take over Roquan Smith's pass drop. Steelers did this a lot. I showed a video on my channel 3 weeks ago. Robert Spillane's pick 6 against the Ravens in 2020 utilized that exact same concept. What does Williams do here? You can see that he's moving in the direction of the vertical to the bottom side of the screen, which is Jamar Chase. Right about now, when he's got Joe Burrow's helmet, it's at least looking somewhere in that angle there, somewhere in that direction. Well, there's only one route there. He got 3 from the other side being handled by Bowser, and then Roquan Smith handles it as well. I just think Williams has a innate understanding, or maybe it's trained or learned understanding of which routes can possibly be thrown based upon what the rush looks like through his helmet as he's watching it during the play. He's just incredibly smooth. He appears to be one of those guys for me that, like, I would love to hear him talk about a certain coverage, whether it was one cover 3, quarter, half, their quarters coverages, anything. I know that NFL Network used to do videos of guys talking about coverages, and I would certainly love to listen to him speak about some of the things the Ravens did last year. All right. Like I said earlier, the Ravens were a little bit more on the edge with their blitzes early in the season, and here's a great example of that week 1. Again, he's on the right-hand side of the defense. This is a zone blitz. Well, it's not really a zone blitz. You do have 2 D tackles dropping out, but everyone else appears to be playing man. It's a 3rd and like 5 or maybe 3rd and 4.5 for the Jets. It's a forced fumble by Pierce, but Marcus Williams is the safety on the other side of the field. So here's his feet right here. And he's going to be guarding this tight end man because Marlon Humphrey is working on a blitz off the edge. Like I said, a little bit more out there, a little bit more risky early in the season. I think the Ravens dialed it down out of necessity because they recognized that they weren't able to do some of those things and be sound. But in any case, he takes 3 from the other side of the field. Something like this angle. And then Pierce drops out and forces the fumble, which is incredibly athletic as well. But look, Marcus Williams is there as quick as possible since, he lined up on the other side of the field. It's a long way to go. Great play by Pierce, but Williams was the first guy to get the hit, and it was beyond the yard to gain. So the Jets at that point had the first down. The forced fumble or the fumble, brought the ball back. But in any case, so it's a illustration of his burst, which I think is underrated when coming downhill. Downhill at an angle in this case, it's not a run play, which I will show you one really good run read here in a moment. But my point in showing this play is to illustrate how much field he can cover, even to the opposite side of the field. Hopefully that makes sense. Week 5 against the Bengals, lined up here. Looks like he's going to play man on number 3. And you'd have, man on 1 with the corner, man to the backside with the corner, and then Pepe Williams manned on number 2. Ravens did a great job that week of disguising things. This could be described as unique, I guess. It depends on your perspective on what the Tampa 2 really is. It's creative from the standpoint of where Marcus Williams lines up, and then post-snap where he goes. So he ends up running the pipe, which is between the hashes in the middle of the field, which in the NFL is, they're very tight together. And what coverage this looks like to Joe Burrow pre-snap is man-free. Because you've got middle of the field closed, meaning Chuck Clark here, and as I illustrated earlier, appears to be man across the board, which at this point, week 5, was a common defense that the Ravens had run in 2021 against Joe Burrow. 2020, Burrow, of course, went out with an ACL, but I think he did play one game against the Ravens that year in Baltimore. So the Ravens were known under Wink Martindale for playing a lot of man-free, so they showed a lot of man-free and occasionally did. Now, this is a 3rd and long. Williams ends up playing, like I said, the Mike linebacker from his alignment over 3. He's basically, at this point, playing middle of the field free safety is what he's doing. And the 2, quote, safeties in this situation, Pepe Williams and Chuck Clark, are basically playing like corner in a cover 3, although they'd be wider. They wouldn't be here near the top of the numbers if it was a true cover 3. All right, so it just depends on what your definition of Tampa 2, what it really is. Is it really a cover 2? Is it really a cover 3? It doesn't really matter. It was effective and certainly effective for the Ravens against the Bengals in week 5. Conceptually, I don't think the Ravens really ever tricked Burrow, to be honest with you. But what I thought they did at times was slow down his recognition just enough to allow the pass rush to get there. And in this case, it was JPP. All right, we'll get back to a little bit more Bengals-Ravens film later. This next play is going to be against the Jets, week 1 again. Half-field safety by Marcus Williams. And this is what I've referred to as the Ravens funnel check to his side of the field. Ends up being a stacked twins look to that side, meaning you end up with 2 receivers really close together once this tight end motions across. And you can see right now Chuck Clark is giving a hand signal to Kyle Fuller. Kyle Fuller kind of widened his alignment up. I think that's their funnel check, whatever they're saying to each other. And by funnel, what I mean is Fuller is going to get to outside leverage and then force both receivers in, and Clark is going to stay inside leverage and force both receivers out, trying to funnel these guys toward Marcus Williams. To the top side, you don't have a stacked Twins alignment. Still appear to be playing inside leverage with Marlon Humphrey. It's a 3rd and 6 or something like that. Joe Flacco's got to check it down to the running back late. Patrick Queen makes a nice play in what is man for him. Marcus Williams eliminates the option here. Flacco's checking to the top side against, I think, Brandon Stevens first. Hamilton and Humphrey have that route blanketed there, so Hamilton's got to Flacco's got to come back. Somewhat similar conceptually here. Fuller's playing underneath this by, I think, more, and Williams is playing over the top. They just eliminate the route. No option for Flacco there. No good choice other than throwing it to the running back. Versatile guy. Williams plays everywhere. You can't really determine coverage based on what his pre-snap alignment is. Okay, week 2 against the Dolphins is going to be a run read. We're just working on showing you his versatility, and in this case, his tackling ability. You already saw him make first contact on the tight end for the Jets on the play where Pierce forced the fumble. And then here he is making a coverage check with Humphrey. And I think Bynes, pre-snap, also was the first guy to turn around. So these guys are making some kind of coverage check, backing Marlon Humphrey off. And you see that often, where Williams is adjusting him because of a call that he got from the other safety or maybe a call that he got from one of the inside linebackers. Anyway, it's a sweep to Mostert to the boundary, the short side of the field. Williams and Humphrey are there. Look, Humphrey makes quick work of Tyreek Hill, a real mismatch in terms of Tyreek Hill trying to block him and put hands on him. And then Williams just expertly tempos the ball. So here's the ball. Here's Williams. Just pausing it so you can see his ability to stay on the inside hip and not let himself get overflowed over the top. You can flow over the top if you trust your force play. Late, excuse me, I should say. You can flow over the top late, but he's trying to stay behind the ball. He's just so disciplined. He looks in control of everything. He reminds me of like a NBA shooting guard who averages like 22 points a game for 12 or 14 years. Gets his recognition when he makes the Hall of Fame and, shot 52% from the field every year, like a Ray Allen type, just a classy shooting guard who's capable of doing a whole lot. This is an underrated play, if you ask me. This Phil downhill, it kind of shows you what he can do in terms of tackling, even though I don't think that's what he's known for. All right, so now we're going to talk about 3 plays against the Bengals in the playoffs. I think these 3 plays illustrate how multiple the Ravens can be coverage-wise. Part of the reason I think they can do that is because how versatile Marcus Williams is. So the first 2 is versions of cover 3. This first one, he rolls to the middle of the field free safety. What's his typical assignment or what he's known for? It's a 1st and 10. It's a sack by Justin Houston, I believe. Like I said, Williams rolls to free safety while Chuck Clark rolled down to the curl flat on the opposite side of the field. Second one, empty on 3rd and 15. Empty by the Bengals, I should say. Cover 3 again. Williams is lined up as a half-field safety. He drops down to the boundary hash. So he is basically taking the inside linebacker's drop, and they've pushed Patrick Queen out into the flats, what Chuck Clark covered on the previous play. So it's just cover 3 with different guys covering certain positions. Burrow's under slight pressure here, I guess, initially from Justin Houston, who falls down, unfortunately. And then Burrow finds Hayden Hurst underneath, and Hamilton with the incredible forced fumble that really got a lot of Ravens fans and players obviously excited. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of guys on the field that are versatile, okay, that on this defense in 2022, and some who won't be there, but there's a lot of guys who are going to be versatile in 2023. But I think Marcus Williams is a bigger piece of it than maybe he gets credit for. Third one, looks like he's going to be middle of the field free safety. He even goes back twice. It's a 3rd and 10. Nope. Tampa 2. Oweh and Bowser get there on the sack with the pressure. Marcus Williams played multiple techniques, played them well, didn't give away a pre-snap to the quarterback what was going to happen. Now, the Bengals, their staff, Joe Burrow, incredibly smart. They'll make adjustments. They'll look at the Ravens' coverages and try to be able to predict things, give Joe Burrow things to see on the field. Okay, I think they're going to do this. Let me roll with that. I think the Ravens just gave so many different looks to them, and that's part of the reason why they were able to hold the Bengals' offense down in 2022. Got some stats that I've talked about, I think, 3 times now on my channel and once on Ken's channel, Film Study Ravens, just to prove or illustrate the Ravens' defense's effectiveness against the Bengals in 2022. 3 games. Of course, the Bengals won 2 of them, and they won the big one. They won the playoff game. This one that I'm showing film of right here. But overall, against the Ravens, the data is really interesting. For the year, the Bengals averaged 5.4 yards per play. Good for, I think, 15th or maybe 14th in the league. In the 3 games against the Ravens, 177 offensive plays, 848 total yards by the Bengals. If I did my math right, for 177 into 848, 4.79 yards per play. That would have been ranked significantly lower in the NFL in 2022. Now, there's a lot of factors related to that, but the game-by-game numbers were very consistent. First game in Baltimore, Week 5. Bengals 59 plays, 318 yards. 5.4 yards per play. Second game in Cincinnati, Week 18. 64. They ran a ton of offensive plays that day. 64 plays, 270. 4.2 per play. Very next week, wildcard game at home again for the Bengals. 54 plays, 260 in terms of yards, 4.8 yards per play. The total yards went down in each case. The yards per play, some fluctuation, with the low being 4.2 and the high being 5.4, which is their average for the year. 4.79 for the 177 plays against the Ravens. If you took that out of the Bengals' offensive statistics for 2022, obviously their 5.4 average for the year, for the whole season, would go up. I think it's pretty obvious if you're talking about a difference of, my suspicion is it's a difference of about 1.3 or maybe 1.34 yards per play between facing the Ravens and the rest of the NFL. I think it's a huge number. I think Marcus Williams is a large part of the versatility that the Ravens have shown. I think I did a film study when the Ravens first signed him where I showed he was a little bit more versatile than just being in the middle of the field for safety. And that was a good faith video by me in terms of that's what I actually thought I saw. But I'll be honest with you, I did not know that he was this good a tackler. I did not know that he was this good spinning down to play curl flat. The ball skills are off the charts. The pre-snap awareness, he's a savant. He just provides real experience at this point against high-level quarterbacks. He's worked with the other safeties in the crew for all of last year. Hamilton, Geno Stone, Pepe Williams, Brandon Stevens. The corners, I'm not even mentioning those guys, but he's worked with all of them as well. 3 games, or I guess 2.5 against the Bengals. Extremely interested to see the adjustments the Bengals offense makes dealing with this Ravens defense and the coverage variations the Ravens put out there. And the crazy thing is Marcus Williams is still 26 years old. I think he'll turn 27 right as Week 1 begins. Man, does Marcus Williams, Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey, Rock Ya-Sin, and others, make them the best secondary in the NFL? I can't say that. But if you get 16, 17 games apiece from all those guys and the other safeties that are going to be there, Stone, Pepe Williams, Brandon Stevens, and others, I think they got a great chance to be another high-level group again and have a serious shot at the AFC North title despite our very demanding schedule. Appreciate you guys checking out the video. If you enjoyed my film study video of Marcus Williams, please let me know in the comment section. Please consider grabbing a link to this video and sharing it out on social media to help this video get more reach.